Hello and welcome to another Beard Clipper video. In this video I'm going to build not one but two Sarissa buildings from there south of the borderline. I did initially start shooting this to do it as two separate videos, but they're just the same thing, so I decided to change it to one. So if there's a little bit of weirdness and inconsistency in the clips, I do apologise. I am trying to edit them out, but I'm not great at editing, so some may get past me. Anyway, these are brilliant little bits of kit. They didn't take very long to make at all, and they look wonderful, if I say so myself. I'm very pleased. So pleased that I have gone and ordered a whole batch more, which will be making a nice table for Blood and Plunder. That's what I've built these for, but I'm sure they can be used for many different styles of game. And I hope that you will agree and join me in enjoying this video. Please do pop a comment below if you do, and if you've built these or if you've got any comments, I'd love to hear from you. And that's enough for me chattering. Let's get to the build. Right, let's have a look at this kit here. This is the south of the border adobe gel kit. Ah, that MDF smell. So let's have a look at what we've got. We've got cells and everything inside this. So we've got a simple 7-stage description, and we have 3 sprues. Now my battery's about to die on my camera, so what I'm going to do is change the battery in the camera and pop out the cell dividers, because that's the first thing to glue. So I'll bring you back when I've done that. There we are, that's popped out and it's ready for gluing. They are very fine, very delicate indeed, so be very careful if you're doing this kit that you don't break them. So what we'll do is we'll get a little bit of PVA on a brush and just run that down where we're going to do the join. The thing that I'm currently umming and ahhing about already on this kit is whether I shouldn't come along now with a with a bit of paint and paint these up, because looking at how it's going to develop, which I might end up just dry fitting a few things, but looking at how it's going to develop now, I wonder, oh look at me, I've broken it. There we are. That's what you've got to be very careful of. Right, I'm going to have to repair that immediately. Be very careful when you're putting these in, otherwise you will risk doing that, which is a bit rubbish of me, but I should be able to repair that, which I'll do now. But yeah, if you look at the picture, that's because I was distracted, wasn't thinking then. If you look at the picture, you'll see that you're going to start to get all this kind of like walls and the roof support and what have you going on around it, and I think I'm going to want to paint that. So the first thing I'm going to do is fix the stupid that I just did. I do love making mistakes on my MDF kits, don't I? And showing you. But I knew I had to be careful, and then I just pushed down in the wrong place. Now, unfortunately, this is going to be repairable, as you can see. But you're just going to need to make sure that if you're doing this kit, you don't do the same stupid thing that I just did. Push on the edges like I did on my first one. Push here if you want to put it in, not right in the center of the really supremely weak, very thin MDF. There we are. So I'm going to leave that to dry now. And yeah, that'll be fine. Well, you won't be able to notice it, I don't think. So yeah, so that'll repair that. And what I probably will do is I will come along and take that and paint that with some steel coloured paint. So probably just spray paint it silver, to be honest, and then give it a little bit of a spray of red to fake up some of the some rust. So I'll leave that for now and let that dry, and then I will spray it and I'll show what it looks like when that's done, and then we'll come to the next steps, because I really don't think that I'm going to be able to do that when it's assembled, so I'm going to have to stop there. So that was a quicker sit down at the Adobe prison than I expected, but hey, let's have a look at this building here, which is the adobe house with stairs south of the border. So the instructions for this are not quite as clear as some of the other kits. It says to glue parts E to parts D and F Now E and F are not on the plan or labelled, which is a bit of an issue. However, I'm sure we'll work it out. So the first thing it says is glue the window frames and shutters to the walls, front and back walls. So what we have here are the window frames and shutters, and what we have here are the front and back walls. You can see that they have windows on them, so that makes it quite obvious. So what we'll do is we'll pop out these and we'll pop out the shutters and then we'll glue them together. So let's get that done. So that's done, so I'll let them dry, which won't take very long, and we'll crack on as much as we can for this. So what it actually says is assemble the internal walls and mount to the base. Now the internal walls are going to be these two here, and you can see on the diagram there, hopefully this is how, that's how they go together. So that little kind of like tab goes into this little slot here. So what I'll do is I will pop these out, and I will also pop out, excuse me, arm across the base, which actually is almost popping out on its own, and then the internal wall gets glued down onto this base. And it might be that I decide to pause on this build at this point and work out my finishing strategy, because it looks like there's some boards here, and I often like to use coffee stirrers to make it a little bit more of a nicer floor. I'll see how I feel, but the first thing I'm going to do is glue these things in place, and then I will evaluate when I see it, because you sometimes need to see something to make your mind up. So I'll get that done. While that dries, I'll pop it to one side. I am going to be able to do one more step before I have to stop and decide whether I'm going to put down any floorboards or not. The next step is slide the main walls on the spigot. It's a great word, spigot, isn't it? On the spigots on this pit. So that means you have these gaps here, it's upside down, you have these gaps here, and you are pushing those onto here. So that's what I'm going to do. So what I'll do is I will pop these out, and I'll pop the other two sections of wall out that's on that sprue and that sprue, and then we will we will assemble that. And I think that'll be a good point to stop on this for now. Let everything go off, let everything dry, and then I may well do my special flooring thing, particularly on the inside. The roof drops in, so I don't have to do that immediately, but certainly I think that inside flooring, if I'm going to do it, I need to do it before I start building walls around it. So yeah, so I'll get this done, and then I'll wrap it up for the evening, I think. So what was happening there was I had this upside down. That's why I was struggling a bit. Now that I've got that the right way up, hopefully I've not damaged things too much. That goes like that. The issue we had was that I couldn't marry them up. But now that I've done that, I can marry them up, as you can see. This is why I am learning to dry fit. So there we are, that's how that works. And then the others should go on far easier. That really confused me for a minute there. But all I did was I had that central, the thing with the spigots on it, the roof supports panel, I had that upside down. So that should be my new motto. I do stupid things so that you don't have to. That's going to look okay. Alright, so now that I've worked that out, I can come in with my glue and I can glue that in place. And I've realised there is actually one other thing that I can do, and that is I can build the stairs assembly. So I will do that as well, but I'll get this glued and then we will look at the stairs together. But I'll stop filming now because you've seen me assemble it. All I'm going to do now is redo that, but with glue, and I'll come back with the stair assembly. Well, that took more clamps than I expected. It's actually a bit fiddly to get that to hold square. So yeah, I'd prepare your clamps if you're building this along. The other thing to say is that there is quite a clear order that you want to do it. You basically want to start with that front one, the half one, the side one, the half one, and go round in that way. So do the side one with the half with a little step out, and then the one with the two windows, and then that one and that one. That's the easiest way to do it. So I'll leave that to go off, and then let's prepare ourselves to try and do these stairs, though part of me is thinking I might just leave it for now. Yeah, I'm pretty tired. I think I'm going to leave it for now, and yeah, I'll come back to that tomorrow when I've decided whether I'm going to do some anything for this. I might do. I haven't decided, as I say, and also when that has gone off. So yeah, good bit of progress on that today. Left this to dry overnight, and my damage is still visible, but at least it's not falling apart anymore. So what I'm going to do now is, because I'm going to paint this, and I'm not going to spray paint it because I really don't like using spray paints if I don't have to, and I have some really nice steel coloured hobby paint, which again I wouldn't normally use for kits, but I think in this case I will. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to paint this clear MDF sealant over this bit of kit, because it will help the paint to go on better, and yeah, it's like priming. It's a primer for MDF, which I have a couple of tins of, and I like quite a lot. I use it. It sometimes does also seem to help with warping. Not that that's a problem for this, because this will be stuck in place. So yeah, so I'll quickly put this over the whole of the kit and then let it to dry, and then I'll go and paint it with my Vallejo natural steel. So I'm not going to film all of this because actually it's proving a little bit difficult in terms of angles to keep this in shot and access all the bits. And it's also a lot more fiddly than I thought it would be. So this could take a little while. I'm going to do it anyway, and then it can be painted up this evening, because this dries relatively quickly, this stuff. The sealant was dried, so what I'm now going to do is come along, like I said, with my Vallejo natural steel paint, and I'm going to put that over all of that. Now I'm upstairs, I'm not in my painting area, so I just have a standard plastic palette. And what I'll do is I'll probably paint this over a couple of applications, because I need to be able to hold it obviously. So I will hold it very lightly and I will just paint that over. And because I've put on the sealant, that should apply okay. Now it might be that I want to actually prime this as well, and if that's the case, then you're about to learn that with me also. And that's also a nice bit of learning. And if I do, then I will just take it downstairs and I will spray prime it. And then it will be ready maybe to accept this paint. Let's just see. It's not going on all that well. It might be that I need to prime it as well. It'll probably be cheaper because I won't have to put multiple layers of the steel colour on. Yes, I'm going to go and prime that. That really hasn't worked very well. It's a bit hard for you to see in that light, unfortunately. I'll do a better job of lighting the next thing. So I'll go down now and I'll just quickly prime that with some black auto primer, and then when that's gone off, I'll come back and I'll show you again me painting the steel. What I've ended up doing for the other metal, for the actual cages, is spraying them silver, because I had some silver primer downstairs, so I just went for that. So what I'm going to do now is I've got some masking tape and I'm going to mask off these pieces on the sprue so that I can go down and I can spray them as well without completely wrecking the entire model. So I'll get that done, go and spray them as well. I'm not a big fan of using aerosols, but sometimes it works, sometimes it's the best idea. And I think in this case it is. So we'll mask all of this off, go and spray it, and then come back. And when that's done, I'll be able to start assembling. So that's pretty good. I want to get these done relatively quickly. They're quite simple kits. They shouldn't take long. So yeah, I'll do that and I'll bring you along and show you what it looks like when it's finished. So that's now dried. I've just sprayed it silver, as you can see, aluminium. So I can now move on with the next parts of the construction, and that involves sticking that to there, and then getting this bit here, whatever they call it, roof support to the same side wall, and then sticking another side wall on the other side. And I'll have to stop then, because the bits that go on the front and the back are the ones that I've just sprayed downstairs, but that doesn't take long to dry, so hopefully that won't take me too long. So what I'll do now is I'll get that glued in place. One thing you'll notice is that I have avoided spraying the contact points because you don't want to. So if you are following along, just make sure you don't apply any glue at the contact points. And then what I'll do is I will slot that in place. And another little tip for you, if you're doing something that's this delicate and you're scared of breaking it, and I am because I already have once, is use the flat of your hobby blade just to go in and push it into place. So you're not actually applying any pressure to any of the fine points. So what I'll do now is I will pop this out, glue this in place, and then we will hopefully see that this works. So yeah, I'm gonna do that now, and I'll bring you back if I've made any mistakes or what have you, and let you know, which I think I have. I think I've actually glued this in upside down. Just having a look at that, I think that actually needs to go in like that. Now that makes much more sense. There we are, almost made another boo-boo live on camera. It won't be the last time. It isn't the first. So yes, on this kit you want the spiky bits to be standing up. So we'll do that. We will slot that in place, push it down very carefully using the flat of the hobby knife to push it into place, and that now looks a lot better. Yeah, so now I'll cut this out, stick it in place, glue this on the side, and I'll bring you back when I come to do the front and the back to show what it looks like now they've been masked and painted. So here we are. You can see that the masking has worked well. If we peel this back, if I can get one of them to move, try another side. Yeah, so you can see that the masking has worked well. We've got ourselves some nice metallic bars on the windows and on the door, but we've not damaged the rest of the sprue. So I will now peel all that off and then glue it in place, and then when that's all done I'll bring you back and show you the next steps to do, but that probably won't be until a bit later for me, as I am now about to have some rosy time. Yay! I've decided against doing the floor inside, mainly because you're never going to see it. The number of times you go into a building is so rare, and it'll probably end up staying closed most of the time anyway. So what I'm going to do is going to crack on with this build and try and get it finished as quickly as I can, which was the purpose of starting these. So that will involve putting a little bit of PVA underneath the bottom of this and gluing it to the base. So I'll get that done. You just slide it over. It's very, very simple to do. I'll get that done, glued in place, and bring you back for the next step very, very shortly. So that's done. I did actually have to get my razor saw out. There was an extra tab just in here which wouldn't go through. There was no hole in the base, equivalent to where this one is, but on this side, just not right. So I got the old razor saw out and cut that out, and that was fine. So what I'm now going to do is have a look at these stairs. So we're going to pop these sections out and look to glue the stairs together, which I think could be quite fiddly. It looks fiddly from the diagram, but we'll find out. So just quickly separate them out like that, and then cut each of the treads out here as well. So let's get that done. Okay, with that done, this is where I think it's going to get quite difficult, because you're going to need to glue each of the steps like so, and you're almost going to need to have a form or something to press it against to keep it square, otherwise it will very, very easily go out of true. So I'm not sure how I'm going to do that, so I'm going to stop the camera now and have a bit of a think, and then I'll bring you back when I've worked it out and show you what I'm going to do. Part of me is wondering if we shouldn't be having this into the having these glued to the side already, and then maybe we can do it a bit better, but it does specifically say glue the stair treads. No, it says glue the stair tread supports to parts D and F, so it does actually say to glue them in here. So that would make it a lot easier. So I might do that, and then when that's dry I'll come back and I can then set the treads on. I think that makes a lot of sense, and I believe that this, though it's not labelled, this must be what they mean as part F. It's not labelled on the diagram. So I'll do that. I'll glue that in place onto the side of the building, and I'll glue this in place onto this side, and then, yeah, fingers crossed, then we'll be able to assemble the stairs. So see you in a minute. So another little helpful correction, or actually a bit of instruction, because these instructions are very lacking, is that you really want to probably have put this end piece on before you glue down to the base, or at the very least now, while you still have a little bit of flexibility, because positioning the stair supports without knowing, well, without having the square base around it, I can tell you from experience just now, is not very easy. So you can slot that in now, get that in place, get that glued, and now what we're going to be able to do is slide that in and definitely get it in the right place, as you can see there, and that will now work well. So I will continue on with this, making the mistake so that you don't have to. But it's getting close to completed. These have been very quick builds. I'm very pleased that this one and the other one that I'm doing in conjunction, the other Sarissa builds, are coming on so quickly. So yeah, I'm going to carry on. I'll bring you back in a second when I come to actually put the treads on. There we are. So you can see the two support sides are on, and now what we're going to do is, from the bottom, obviously, we're going to be applying some glue and then putting these stair treads in. And I'm doing this before the sides have glued, because the stair treads will actually help to support and keep things in place, I hope. So let's see how well I can do this while I'm on camera at this odd angle. Not so bad. There we are. So let's slide these in. And there we are, we have a stairway. So I will let that to dry now. The roof slots in and the build is complete. So I'll let it to dry now, and then we'll come to painting and detailing. And so the building is ready and finished. Well, it's made anyway. So I'm going to be texturing and applying filler or grout or some mix of some sort over all of the building. But the first thing I want to do is I'm going to put some of my brick colour paint onto the bricks. Funny that, isn't it? Brick colour paint on the bricks. And I'm doing it now because this means that anything where I go over is going to get covered over by the grout. So I'll paint this on now, like this, over all of the exposed brick areas. And then I'll mask it when it's dry, which means I won't be starting to do the rest of it tonight, because this needs to be totally dry before you can mask it, otherwise you'll peel it off. And then that will mean that I can be relatively confident coming in and painting on my, whatever the texturing material I decide to use is. And you can see that that is going to work quite nicely. It's going to give a nice brick colour, and will look really well. So I'll get that done, and I'll bring you back when I come to the next step, which, as I say, will be putting the texture onto the walls, but that will not be this evening, I don't think. This is dried now, it's the next day. The next step I'm going to do is I'm applying a grout mix to the walls. If you want to see how I do this, there's a video linked in the description of every single one of my videos now that shows how I go about making this mix. It is basically tile grout with some dust, very finely sifted dirt from the backyard, PVA and water. And you just mix it and it gives a really nice texture. Now the way I'm applying it for this is I'm stippling it on. So I'm not brushing it on, I'm dab, 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 dab. And that's going to give me additional interesting textures. And what I'm going to do when I get to try and do between the boards, I don't know. I'll come to that, I think. We'll work it out. But for now, what I'm going to do is basically apply this all over all of the outside of the building, avoiding the bricks, as I've said. I've realised I don't actually probably need to mask them, I don't think. As long as I'm careful, it's okay. And then when that's done, I will work out how I'm going to do the gaps between the beams coming out, and I'll show you. Probably just use a small brush, but that's going to look really nice. I think you can agree that that looks like a really nice effect. So I'll get that done on the whole of the building and bring you back for the next step very shortly. I think you can agree that that looks really nice. I'm really pleased with how that's come out. And now I was filming these as separate clips to do in a separate film, but they've been so easy and so quick, I'm probably just going to combine them into one build with me. So I'm going to do exactly the same technique for the adobe house with stairs. So I'll paint the outside of that, and then we'll wrap this up, and these builds will be completed in less than 3 days, including a power cut. Pretty pleased with that, and they'll look really nice for various games, but particularly Blood and Plunder. And also that clears my bench a bit to do some other projects that are very urgent that I need to start on, and I've just decided to finish these before I start those. So I'm going to do the same adobe effect, zoom back out, the same adobe effect I've done on this building on this, and then they'll be done. Yeah, I called it too early. There is a little bit more to do on this before they're done. I need to paint the wooden bits, which is these roof panels. There's this little ladder, and also I'm going to put some colour inside each of the buildings. I'm just going to be using my raw umber from Winsor & Newton for that. And the other thing I need to do on this building, I need to paint the shutters and paint the door. So I need to have a think about what colour I'm going to do that. Haven't decided yet, so I probably won't do that straight away. But then that will be done. So I will get that completed, and then I'll take some pictures and show you what they look like. I'm really pleased with how they've come out. They do just look lovely. Really good little bits of kit, these Sarissa models. The wood has been done and is looking really nice, and I've decided on a colour for the shutters and the door. I'm going to use this nice turquoise, which I bought way back in Belgium when I first started on this entire journey. So I've had this for a very long time. So I'm just going to make use of that. Just going to brush that on, and it's going to be a nice strong colour, but not too kind of like garish, I don't think. So I am going to stop filming while I'm painting this, because I'm going to want to pick it up. We're going to need to have multiple hands, two hands to do it. But yeah, you can see that's going to be a really nice colour. If I just bring that to the light a bit, a really nice colour for the woodwork. So I'll do that, and then it really will be wrapped up. That really was a fun build. I did, as I say, turn that from 2 videos into 1 just because they were so similar, and I hope that wasn't too off-putting, but I think you can see that the results are brilliant just for a really simple build. I mean, all I did really was glue them together and then stick the grout and sand mix over the top, and the results are brilliant. I enjoyed that so much, and I think they're going to work so well for Blood and Plunder that I now have a whole batch more on their way to me eventually, and they will appear as well. Ones that are different enough will get their own build videos. I've got a church to make. I think I've mentioned that. I can't remember if I did or not, but I've got a church from the same series as well, which will also be beginning when my deck's clear from all the projects I'm working on now. So there we are. I will have some close-up photographs just after I finish this little outro, so I do hope that you enjoy them. And if you have, pop a comment below if you've got an alternative, any other companies that make really cool buildings for Blood and Plunder or other kinds of Mexican and South American style gaming, then please pop a comment below. I'd love to hear. I'm always on the lookout for cool new bits of terrain. But yeah, hope you enjoy it. I will round off, as I always do, by saying I really hope that you can stay healthy, you can stay safe, and that you stay well.